G'day, freedom lovers. How are we today? We're ready to do a little bit of freedom fighting perhaps today, and for God knows how much longer while we have Elbow on holidays as usual, starting his term much like he did the last time, getting that Airbus out and giving it a good flogging. So, as we continue to watch our country descend into chaos, sorry, I just dislodged something. Sips, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I'm seeing lots of different ideas, and had a bit of a gathering yesterday with some cool people about what we can do, how we're going to do things, what we're going to do. And I think the general consensus is, pedal to the metal. Let's keep charging forward. Doesn't matter, what kind of results we're getting, as long as we're moving forward. And Friday, so apologies for having to do a rerun, by the way. My back was giving me a lot of curry, and it's given me a bit of grief as well today. Thank God for painkillers and a rum chaser. Thanks. Cheers, Sips. It's about the only thing that's sort of keeping me here. We're going to try not to be here for too long, because sitting in a chair for too long is a little bit painful at the moment. Hence why I had to do a rerun on Friday. I spent most of the time kind of lying down and heat packs and anything I could think of. But anyway, all that aside, on Friday, I seen Jacquie had made this wonderful post, SMS me a link to it. And I'm like, cool, this sounds interesting. It's an idea nonetheless. But it's a brainstorm session. So it's kind of, we're reaching out to you lot as well to see, what you guys think, what can we do to sort of add to this idea? But I guess the first thing we should do is introduce Jacquie. Again, I mean, we should all know Jacquie by now, and get a sense of what the idea is. Hey, Jacquie, how you going?
Hello, mate. How are you, Betty? Thanks for getting me on again.
My pleasure. It seems like a very interesting idea you formulated here. Perhaps we can start at the inception of this thought. And you said something you were looking at your grandfather's document, which I've got here. We can bring up there. Maybe if I...
Yes. Look, I was reading through this. My mother gave this to me a couple of years ago after, double checking. It's my father's father, so it's from my grandfather, Charles Dundee. Mm-hmm. And, just reading the words in this, so he was Irish. So this is about England coming in and home rule taking over in Ireland. So I don't know how well...
Different way, sorry, just so we can zoom in. Yep. Sorry, because it's a bit hard to read under that circumstance.
So it basically is just, the Irish got together under the Ulster and did a Solemn League and Covenant. So it was the people getting together basically and putting on paper and signing a declaration of their thoughts and their intent as to what was going to be occurring in Ireland. So they were convinced in their consciences that home rule would be disastrous to the well-being of Ulster as well as the whole of Ireland. And it just goes on, subversive of our civil and religious freedom, destructive of our citizenship, and perilous to the unity of the empire. Now, we are undergoing the same things here. So it just goes, it goes on down about how they solemnly pledge, and they are in days of stress. So they are pledging themselves in solemn covenant throughout a time of threatened calamity to stand by one another in defending ourselves and our children, our cherished positions, etc., by all means found necessary to defeat the present conspiracy to set up a home rule parliament in Ireland. And in the event of such a parliament being forced upon us, we further solemnly and mutually pledge ourselves to refuse to recognise its authority. Now, as most of us are aware, we have the Australian Government Corporation that is not the constitutional, it doesn't have the structure that the Constitution prescribes that it must. It is no longer the Commonwealth of Australia Parliament. They have made themselves the Australian Government Corporation, and as we all know, it listed listed themselves in Washington, D.C. Now, corporations cannot govern. The whole construct of government is unconstitutional. It doesn't meet the requirements set up in the Constitution. And the same goes for all of the ministers and senators that are sitting, and through all the different limbs of government, our police, our judges, etc., anybody that is to swear basically an oath of allegiance to do the right thing by the Commonwealth have not sworn their oaths as prescribed in the Constitution. The Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1901 UK. So this means they're all sitting illegitimately. So, Batty, as I was discussing with you the other night, this is just an idea, exactly what I'm going to do. And I've only got drafts of this. I've got short ones and a long one.
Well, before we go a little bit further, I'm interested in the history of this document, actually. So, you know, I'm not, I think there might be a few trace elements of Irish in me somewhere along the lines, but I'm not 100% familiar with what's going on here. So tell me a little bit about what's happened and what time period we're looking at here.
My grandfather signed it in 1912.
Right, so just before World War One.
Yes, and then he went straight off to war.
Yeah,
as they all did. So, you know, I always start my lives with, I wish to acknowledge and show my respect for my forefathers, our forefathers. So they, and every single one of us will have forefathers that at some time in history have fought in wars to protect the people, to protect their nation. Every single one of us. So I guess it's a bit of an inspiration for us all to get up and make them proud and follow in their footsteps. So the idea of this is to lay out our own Solemn League and Covenant for the people of the Commonwealth of Australia, just outlining where we are.
What was happening in Ireland at the time? So, you know, they're saying, you know, here in the opening statement, you know, they're convinced, you know, in their conscience that home rule would be disastrous.
Which will be the British. We'll have to look it up, Batty. We'll have to look it up.
Okay.
But the idea of the Solemn League and Covenant of the people of Australia is to replicate what my grandfather's did with the Ulster here. He joined the Ulster and just made the government, it's a pledge that they are not going to recognise any illegitimate government, basically, or the conspiracies. Here we go. Long live the Anglo-War spirit. Damn straight. So
what I've got here regarding this, the Home Rule movement in Ireland sought self-government for Ireland within the United Kingdom from 1870s until the end of World War One. It involved several attempts to pass legislation for an Irish Parliament, with notable bills introduced in 1886, 93, and 1912, but faced significant opposition and was ultimately complicated by political tension and the petition of Ireland. Okay, let's get a little bit deeper. That was just a quick AI. So, movement that campaigned for self-government or home rule. So it seems to be this is opposing the idea of self-governance and seeking, you know, for Ireland within the United Kingdom of Britain and Ireland. It was the dominant political movement of Irish nationalism from 1870 to the end of World War One. Isaac Butt, that's there's always the butt of a joke in there, isn't there? Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Founded the Home Government Association in 1870. This was succeeded in 1873. You know, I'm just going to bring this up so that people can sort of see where I'm getting this shit from. I mean, Wikipedia is possibly the least reliable source of information in the known universe.
I agree. Kerry's just put in here. I think it was when the British were trying to take over Ireland and Scotland. But look, it was, to be honest with you, I haven't gone into depth about that. I've just looked at the wording in that and thought, my God, the government is conspiring against us, we the people, and we should not be recognising their authority, as they are unconstitutional. They are not adhering to the supreme law of this land. So I thought, if we do something like this, what to do with it is the question, whether or not, and this is the thing, as you said, this isn't like a bit of an open forum for suggestions as to what we can do with this, whether or not we sign the documents with a witness. So you've got 2 copies, print out 2 copies, sign it with a witness, keep an original copy, whether we send it via registered mail to the Governor General as a suggestion, I don't know, but we need to make it clear that we are aware of what is going on in this country, the corruption. The government has, they do not own anything, nothing. They are basically the executors and the trustees of the Commonwealth, which is ours. We are the beneficiaries, and that is inclusive of all our land, our water, our minerals, and our resources, which I was speaking on the phone to someone today, and they said you can actually look it up on the government website, how much they are making. And Trish was telling me, she seemed to think it was $33 trillion a year from the sale of all our resources. Now, this money, where is it going? This needs to be put back. This is our money, and it needs to go back into the Commonwealth. We should not be broke.
Well, as many people have pointed out, it's right there in our national anthem, wealth for toil. So, but where's all that wealth going? We're doing all the toil, we're doing all the work, and we get fuck all for it.
Yes.
It's very
so
disturbing.
This is the thing.
In fact, we're now at a state here, I mean, I was talking to Vincent and Mary. G'day, how you going? Thanks heaps for the push bike. Wonderful people. Not only did they provide this for me last week, they provided a pushy for my son this week. These people are absolutely amazing. But I was talking to these lovely people, and they've busted ass all their life, and right now one of their biggest concerns is that the Labor government, who's supposed to be about the worker and for the worker and all that, is going to basically strip them of everything that they've earned all their life and hand it over to these people who are coming in by the plane load, for what purposes we don't really know. But at the end of the day, the Labor government have set up a socialist system where all of those who work hard get stripped of their wealth via horrific amounts of taxes and levies and all the variations of terminologies they have to steal your money. It's fundamentally a tax. We've just rebadged it, and then funnel that money into the hands of useless people. People who don't work, people who just march down the street and scream and carry on all the time, for things that have no real bearing on the Australian people, for instance, that is really disturbing, particularly coming from a party that is supposed to be there for the worker, and here they are in their retirement. They should be relaxing, not worrying about what's going to happen to their money. Is a death tax going to come in? That's one of the big ones that people are just busting to see, because it's not the first time the Labor government has mentioned such a thing. I believe Shorten lost the election several years ago to that idea, because he was trying to push a death tax. Like, who the hell in their right mind wants a death tax? I don't understand how that anybody would want to support such a thing. It's like, wow, you work all your life for everything you got. You've paid tax upon tax upon tax for what little you have left, and then you've got to pay tax on that again to hand it down to your young'uns. That's just disgraceful. So, we've definitely got a big problem on that regard. In that regard, I definitely want to look more into what this concept is that's been brought forth of this home rule scenario, because it almost seems like that's something that we would want, that we the people rule ourselves in a sense. But I want to learn more about it, and the first thing I think I want to look at this is, does this lead into the IRA?
Oh, maybe it does. I don't know. I didn't think about that. But look, this is the thing. Whatever we do, we must be very, very clear with our intent and our demands, and everything must be done lawfully and peacefully, because they would love nothing more than to bring in foreign military against us. So we're not the criminals, and we're not going to behave as such. So I'm going to email you through just the draft of this one that I've got in front of me, Batty, the Solemn League and Covenant. It's just one of the drafts. But this is the thing. This is just so Australians can, as a united front, say, we are going to stand up. We demand that everything's been stolen from us is returned. So we need to start laying down the law and make sure this Parliament, or the Australian government, I should say, is put back in their place, because they are our public servants. We are the power, and we will tell them what to do. So this is just one thing as a united front, to go to the Governor-General, perhaps, to go to the High Court. I don't know, but I've just sent you through the Covenant. But something else I really want to go over and make clear is, other than this is just us united. One way to implement this, I highly doubt the Governor-General is going to do anything this so crooked, but is through the High Court. So I do not want people to lose faith or hope in this avenue, because the High Court to date have not made any incorrect decisions. So Australians need to, well, I was going to say, have Australians truly understood what Rod and Dr. Beverley have done? Because the High Court actually read over their cases and filed the matter, and even both of their matters, and even Beach Jones says, yes, these cases have got prospect of success. Now, this is the first time in Australian history that lay people, self-representing, have ever gone into the High Court. So we really can say that we, the people, have got the courts back, because we are in there now with Dr. Beverley. She's presenting the Section 109. I've sent you through that case to a statement of claim, and Rod doing the Section 92. So these are two extremely important cases. So we've got to remain positive with this. The High Court justices looked over their cases and they accepted them. You could not get into the highest court of the land in any country around the world being lay people. So this is pioneering. We are really, and this work is unprecedented. This has never occurred before, people. So we, the people, are the power. We are taking back our control, and we will do it. As I said, it's got to be multifaceted. Through the High Court, who have not made any incorrect decisions yet, and perhaps as a united front, as Australians, saying, just outlining what I have done in the Covenant. So, as I said, this is really, really exciting times. The people have taken back the courts. We've come back into the courts. Lay people. No legal representation whatsoever. Cases being presented and created by lay people. And both Dr. Beverley and Rod have got the determination to take this all the way. You know, taking matters at the highest level into the High Court is not easy. It cannot be achieved easily, and we cannot expect things to happen straight away. You know, with the first step in, everything's going to be okay. As we know, this is all about learning as you know you go. So you don't just walk away from something when you get a knockback. You get up twice as hard and determined, and this is what's going on. So the very fact that lay people are in the High Court is actually mind-boggling. This is unprecedented, pioneering stuff that is occurring in this country now. And this is why I'm asking, please, people to get behind. Dr. Beverly needs support. I know you've got the link for her Give, Send, Go, Batty.
Yep.
But, yeah, so it's other than these matters that are live matters in the court that need Australians' support, please help Dr. Beverly get through. These are not, I know, look, all the best to everyone who's trying to do something, but, you know, I do not understand how Monica Schmidt has raised, and look good on it, but she has raised $100,000 allegedly for a hypothetical case that is not even created. It's not written. They don't even know exactly the arguments or etc. And it's highly unlikely they are going to hand over Daniel Andrews on a platter. It's not going to happen. It's got very.
Well, they spent so much time, decades, protecting the goddamn idiot. You know, like.
And that's the thing, Batty. If the matter was to win, okay, so one of the puppets gets a rap
the big
over
question
the knuckles.
is, what is the matter? What is it they're bringing? What is shit?
They don't even know, but the only thing that
a whole bunch of money together and then fund an idea pool, or shouldn't we have the idea first? I'm astounded that people threw money like that. It's just you can see that many people just want to have him, you know, punished in some way, shape, or form, for lack of a better term. I'm sure people can add more extreme versions of the word punished in there for their own amusement, but at the end of the day, I think that's what it is. People just want justice that bad, and they see somebody at least offering something, so let's go with it. But what I find baffling is that
this is where we need to be smart.
Not offering anything other than hey, we're going to do it. What are we going to do? Like it's amazing, you know.
But the thing is, Betty,
what Rod and the lovely doctors are doing, there is a solution, there is a pathway. It's clear and it's defined. Why aren't people getting behind that? Now that's I don't know. Is it just a case she's got that much reach? You know, I don't know.
Potentially, I don't know. Like, I'm not the squeaky clean girl next door type, I suppose. So I think that's probably a lot to do with it. But in the event, highly unlikely that Monica had a win with a matter that she's creating. All that is going to achieve is gratification. Australians will go, yeah, fucking great. You know, that guy got a slap over the wrist or whatever the punishment. It is not going to alter the situation and the circumstances that we are in. Now, Dr. Beverly's Section 109 matter, as I said, it is addressing two limbs. The challenges that Dr. Beverly is putting is regarding the state health acts. The health acts across this nation were being used as state industrial laws. We've gone over all this. Pursuant to the definition of a state industrial law contained within the Federal Fair Work Act 2009, which is the Superior Act. So the question is, can state acts circumvent federal law or the Constitution? No, they cannot. They are inferior. And then Section 109, if the law of the state is inconsistent with the law of the Commonwealth, the latter shall prevail. The former, to the extent of the inconsistency, is invalid. So the second limb or prong of Dr. Beverly's attack is, or question is, she is being challenged. So we know the answer is no. State acts cannot operate above or circumvent constitutional federal law. So can corporation policy do that? Of course it bloody well can't. And that's pursuant to Clause 5 of the Constitution. Have you got that up there, Betty? I think we went over that last time. I can quickly get it up.
Constitution, I can get it up.
Clause 5 of the Constitution. So that is the defining of, let me find it. Where's me playing Constitution? Where are you?
Well, what did I do then? Oh, wow, I didn't know that button did that. There you go, learn
You
something.
didn't know that? Didn't know that button did that.
Well, if you hold the Alt and and scroll the mouse wheel down, because I thought I'd press Control, it turns out that it takes you back a page while using Mozilla Firefox. I didn't know that. So, if anybody out there ever wanted to know that for whatever reason, personally, I've gotten through my life quite comfortably without knowing that. I just discovered it by accident. But anyway, clause 5. So we're talking about operation of the Constitution and laws.
Clause 5 of the Constitution. Here we go. Right. So, clause 5.
Trying to find the part that says clause.
Let's see if we can get it up quicker. Oh, no, God. 51.
I've got the Constitution here. I'm just trying to figure out covering clauses. Yeah, so there we go.
Covering clauses, yes.
Yeah, I was right. Present file.
I got it.
Screen.
This Act, being the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, at clause 5 says, oh, beautiful, mate, great. This Act and all laws made by the Parliament. Capital P means Commonwealth Parliament. The Federal Fair Work Act was created by Parliament. It is a law made by Parliament of the Commonwealth under the Constitution, and it clearly says shall be binding on the courts, judges and people of every state and of every part of the Commonwealth, notwithstanding anything in the laws of any state. So this, when I like to say when Dr. Beverley is successful, because there is, like, her arguments are irrefutable. All of the health acts across the nation, the state health acts were being used as state industrial law. They stopped the operation of the Federal Fair Work Act, so they interfered with the work in the workplace, interfered with the employer-employee relationship. They cannot do that. That is an inconsistency where Section 109 comes in, making them invalid. So
this is interesting. I'll just looking at this. Sorry to segue.
No.
This question popped into my head here regarding, and the laws of the Commonwealth shall be enforced on all British ships, which comes into this concept of, people are saying that they're using maritime law and, the bar and all these other, maritime terminologies that are used in
You're going down Admiralty,
yeah, the whole Admiralty law, but I mean, well, the Constitution is still valid because it's, on a British ship in a sense, unless, the ship that they're talking about is not declared British in any way, shape or form, I guess. It's an interesting concept though. I guess again, where's the destination? Was it their first port of clearance or their port of destination? Are they in some way engaged?
Listen here, Batty, don't get sidetracked. You've got to focus on this Act and all the laws made by the Parliament of the Commonwealth under the Constitution shall be binding.
Yes.
So keep on that. My computer's gone. So Dr. Beverley's matter, when she wins, will stop the requirement, which was unlawful, in the workplace. They cannot force you to be vaccinated to go to work. So this also then, I guess, has it's got a broad effect then across the nation, because if a state act cannot stop you going to work, they can't lock you down. And this is the importance of all of this. People are not to comply to state acts. You've got to comply to the Constitution and the federal acts over these state health acts. So everybody get behind Dr. Beverley. This has really, the ramifications of this case are massive, because if corporations cannot circumvent the Constitution or federal law. I mean, anyone can see that. It's not really a question, it's a statement. So that then also goes across to, you've got the education departments and other branches or, sectors that are corporations. They too cannot force vaccination on our children to study at university, school, daycare, etc. This case is massive, and like the timing of this now with this WHO treaty being signed, this is why these Rod's and Dr. Beverley's matters are crucial that Australians get behind them. We are not to be locked down again, and we cannot be forced into any kind of medical service. Crucial. We're in serious bloody times, people. So, Batty, I also wanted to go over, this is also going to be a call out for plaintiffs, okay? Plaintiffs to go in and present cases. So there's a case against the Commonwealth, for example, seeing as we are on the WHO. So this is about a plaintiff coming in to challenge the Biosecurity Act of 2015, a federal act, and the ability of a foreign person or body such as the WHO to directly control health policy in Australia. So the Treaty and External Affairs Powers this is the power under which treaties are entered into, does not allow the Commonwealth to delegate its legislative powers, okay? So there's a lot of shit fuckery going on, and this is where we need to be just that little bit more proficient in our understanding of our rights and the law and how they are implementing this shit. So the legislative power can only be exercised by parliamentarians. And the proof we have of foreign control, of course, of our health by a foreign person or body is the predominant person of WHO. And we know who that is, don't we? You've got the WHO. Who really is the WHO?
Wow, I think the biggest donor to the WHO is Bill Gates, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So that would suggest
he has
the biggest there. Market share.
Yep. Like, it's criminal. Absolutely criminal. So Bill Gates can turn around and say to our parliament, yeah, best you write that in your legislation, boys. Tell them all to put a needle in their arms. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, mate. You've got no legislative ability. So this is the thing. There is a general understanding by everybody, that are interested in these things, that we do have an external influence happening over our government, and we are being run by foreign powers. And this is just an example how they have done that in law under Section 478 of the Biosecurity Act. So this is where it's written and comes into legal effect. So if we want to stop international control over our government, this is how we do it. This is a case for the High Court. Any plaintiffs, so I'm doing a big call out. We've got cases I want to run over for plaintiffs. This is how we do it in the High Court. And I will ask anybody that is interested in being a plaintiff, please, only genuine people, to send an email to info@knowyourrights.com.au and just put down which matter you are interested in being a plaintiff for. So this is how we are going to stop international control over our government, how we stop these parasites.
Know Your Rights group.
info@knowyourrights.com.au. Is that correct?
I thought it was
info@knowyourrights.
You're right. Hang on, let me check.
.com.au.
I'll just check their website.
So this is a tricky thing, you see. We've got to work out how these arseholes how are they implementing what they are doing against us. So, and it's all about looking at the legislation, and every law that is made in this country must be able to be traced back to the lawmaking powers in the Constitution, which you'll find under Section 51. So, and we've got, there's High Court case law as well. This is something else. There can be no doubt, I'm quoting from High Court case law. This is R.E. Young and Chief Justice Gagler at paragraph 31. There can be no doubt, however, that the term treaty in Section 75(1) of the Constitution and in Section 38A of the Judiciary Act refers to an international agreement, a contract between two or more independent nations, not corporations, private, public, foreign, trading, whatever, only between two independent nations. It's null and void. And that's the thing, you take this one in and that start working on getting rid of the treaty with the UN, the Uni-Droit treaty and the Lima Agreement and any other bloody treaty that's been entered into. Absolute bullshit. It's almost, it's allegiance to our foreign powers. It's
I suspect it's Know Your Rights group. For some reason, that link is not working on their page at the moment. But the website itself is knowyourrightsgroup.com.au. So I'm going to assume that the email would be linked to the same URL.
I asked Daryl yesterday. I said, Daryl, where can I get stuff sent to? And Daryl's, I do not remember group in it. Info at know your. Oh, there you go. I'm sorry, my mistake.
I think that's it. If not, take the group out.
Yes, it's either that or minus the group.
Because their website itself is knowyourrightsgroup.com.au. I just assume that it would be linked to that same URL because that's generally how it works. I
didn't even know that. I didn't know the word group was in there. But anyhow, thank you,
Know Your Right, because there's a knowyourrights.com, I think it is. I think it's an American one, though.
Ah, okay.
So that's why it's Know Your Rights Group. At least that's my understanding of it. I'd have to check with Mike, who I believe set it all up in the first place. So
now you want to hear another case?
Why not?
This one want to be a class action, and this is a class action against APRA and the Medical Board of Australia. So this is relating to suing APRA and the Medical Board of Australia. So class action, as many people as possible. So this is the thing, they don't expect this matters to be brought in by the patients, okay? So this is going to be hopefully a big slap in the face and knocking them out because they've got control over the doctors. So this is basically suing APRA and the Medical Board of Australia by a member of the public, not a doctor. APRA, through their position statement, given legal force through the Medical Board of Australia, have in practical terms caused doctors to abandon their duty of care to tell the truth. So we are in a situation now where no patient can be certain of their doctor's opinions or if they are telling the truth. Yeah. So we need to re-establish that the private contract between doctor and patient, where no third party has any rights or obligations. Oh, sorry, got to plug my phone in before it goes whack. So this is the thing. So APRA has basically interfered into our private right
relationship
to contract, with our doctors. And this is evidenced as in they've got the position statement and its exercise of the suspension power, which they are using against the doctors, Section 156 of the national law. So this has resulted in we cannot go to our doctors and make informed decisions about any medical treatment because the doctors basically are being unduly influenced and coerced to comply with government health policies or face job loss themselves due to this suspension power. So APRA's actions have compelled doctors, they've made doctors abandon their duty of care owed to us as the patients with the provision of advice and information to tell us the truth about any treatment. And that has got to be absent any government policy or influence. So, what's really going on is we go in to see our doctors and APRA is sitting in that appointment with us with a gun to our doctors' heads saying,
Yep.
you better stick to the script.
Exactly.
This is ludicrous. This case has got the states have got no authority to compel vaccination. This is the other thing. The states can create regulatory bodies, okay? They cannot force vaccination. And the states
or any medical treatment for that matter.
No, that's what I'm going to say. The states they've only got a regulatory power over the providers of the services listed in section 5123A. So doctors, dentals, anything to do within 5123A. That's all they can do. They can regulate the doctors, but they cannot. This is not regulation, you see. This is basically a prohibition of telling the truth. And, you go into their own bloody statements in each of the health practitioners regulations across the state. And it says, that their doctor's primary obligation is the care of their patients.
Yeah.
It's insane. Everything is like an oxymoron, a contradiction and hypocrisy. It's insane.
Exactly. I mean, and on that WHO thing, I actually found this video during the week. I thought it might be appropriate for people to have a look at what our wonderful Australian government is doing.
To the delegate of Australia, to be followed by the delegate of Belgium.
Thank you, Chair. Australia thanks the Secretariat for the updated program budget 2026-2027, including undertaking proactive reductions of the budget envelope to match current budget realities. We commend the Secretariat for the difficult but necessary reprioritization and realignment of the WHO. We acknowledge that the decisions arising from reprioritization will be felt across the organization and express appreciation of all WHO staff and the important contribution to improving health outcomes. We are pleased that WHO has focused on its comparative advantage and core mandate during the reprioritization process. This will ensure that the WHO continues to support the development and uptake of the highest priority global public goods for health. We further encourage WHO to continue to prioritize areas where it can deliver the most impact. This includes protecting WHO's country-level presence in low and middle-income countries to support the application of WHO's normative and technical work where it's needed the most. We recognize that the current health funding challenges extend beyond the WHO and acknowledge the vast impacts globally. While acknowledging these challenges, we encourage member states to do their part by exercising discipline in what they ask of WHO. Our expectations must realistically reflect WHO's budget realities. Reprioritization efforts can only be realized if WHO is equipped with adequate, flexible, and predictable funding. Australia reaffirms our strong support for sustainable financing reforms, including increasing assessed contributions. Thank you.
Well, that's sustainable finance reforms while we shovel shitloads of money to fund the World Health Organization to the tune of an extra 20%. In the meantime, how are you helping the health of people sleeping in tents? You guys are fucking idiots. And what have we got? I think Leanna put a beautiful one here. Is that Elbo's brother? He talks the same. We got like some young Chinese guy. Looks like he fell straight out of high school, with a lisp and Coke bottle glasses, and he's representing our country and handing over an extra 20% to the WHO. Who the fuck organised it or authorised that? I certainly bloody didn't. This is nuts. Not to mention what Wong was signing a saver on Elbo's behalf recently as well.
It's insanity what is going on. Australia's just entered into a treaty with a private organisation, mainly owned by Bill Gates, the organisation that is responsible worldwide for democide, for forcing people around the world to be a part of the biggest medical experiment in mankind's history. Yeah. This is insane. And the deaths are now what do you reckon they're in? They're in the millions. 100 million, did they say they worldwide have probably died?
Yeah, I reckon it'd have to be. It'd have to be. I mean, like the amount of people that have been injured, even if it was just a simple injury, like it's an insane amount of people. Yeah.
I just got to get my phone charged, Betty. Hold on.
No, you're right.
I got to trace this. It's going black. It must not be plugged in. Oh shit! I'm at my friend's place. God, where's the lead go to? Oh, shit. No, hold on.
Well, Clark, while
Sorry,
that's
people.
happening,
It's so professional. Jesus, the lead goes all the way into the other bloody room.
I'll let you sort that out. And I've actually, I don't know how well this will work because I was struggling to get the video, but I'm confident I can play this off
Helen,
the website
darling,
itself.
my phone, the thing's not plugged in here, darling. Sorry, Betty.
No, you're all right. I'm just going to mute you for a sec while you sort that out. So in the meantime, let's bring this screen up. Where did it go? There it is. Add to stage. Why won't you add to stage? What is going on here? Add to stage. Before presenting this, remove other medias. Ah, right. Okay, cool. That's what happened. All right. So this is the video.
The federal election was rigged, just not in the way you think. Let's talk about it. Let me be clear. The federal election was rigged, not with ballot stuffing or hacked machines, but with something far more insidious and far more sinister. This election was rigged culturally, structurally, and ideologically, and the results were locked in long before anyone cast a vote. First, it was rigged by a legacy media class that overwhelmingly leans left. Most so-called journalists in this country are little more than activists masquerading as reporters. They don't report the news, they massage it. Their job isn't to hold power to account, but to shield it, so long as it's power that they like. They ran cover for Anthony Albanese every time he lied to the public, and he lied often. They gave him a free pass while ignoring, smearing, and outright defaming right-leaning politicians who offered real solutions to the very real problems our nation is facing. Is it any wonder Australians voted for Labor when all they heard was Labor propaganda delivered by a media class in bed with the political left? Then there's the public service, supposedly non-partisan, but in reality, a bloated bureaucracy that exists to protect itself and expand government control. Of course, they want Labor in power. Big government is their meal ticket. Try unseating Labor, and you're not just fighting a party, you're fighting an entire bureaucratic empire. Worse still, the education system has been captured. Our schools and universities, once places of learning, are now breeding grounds for radical Marxist ideology. From childcare to higher education, our young people are being indoctrinated. They're not being educated. So, of course, young voters lean left. They've been taught to since they were toddlers. From childcare to university, radical left-wing ideology has become the default. The institutions that once taught critical thinking now teach conformity to progressive dogma. So when millennials vote Labor, it's not surprising, it's programming. They've been taught to do so since they could walk. That's why Labor wants free childcare, because they know early indoctrination pays off. These aren't really early learning centres, they're taxpayer-funded re-education camps. And let's not forget mass migration. For decades, governments, Labor and Liberal alike, have flooded the country with people from nations where state dependency is the norm. These new arrivals, many of whom rely on government assistance, overwhelmingly vote for the party that promises to protect those handouts. It's not subtle, It's deliberate. It's importing voters. Finally, the election was sabotaged from within by internal Liberal Party factions, more concerned with power plays than national interest. These self-serving operators undermine their own side, helping deliver victory to Labor while clinging to influence behind the scenes. So yes, the election was rigged, not by massive levels of fraud, but by cultural capture. And here's the real kicker. When Labor wins, they actually govern. Their ideology seeps into every part of the nation. The bureaucracy, the schools, the media, the law. They reshape the country in their Marxist left-wing image relentlessly. When the Liberals win, what do? Nothing. They don't even have the balls to defund the left-wing ABC, even though it actively campaigns against them. They won't oppose authoritarian nonsense like banning social media or call out the e-safety commissioner. They won't abandon the net zero fantasy, even when they know it's economic suicide, because they're afraid of alienating the soy latte sipping elites in the inner city. They won't stand up to the UN, the WHO, or the WEF, terrified they'll be called nationalists. Heaven forbid they put Australia first. They won't call for a serious immigration reform because they're scared of being labelled racist, and they also benefit from having a subservient, dependent population. They won't tackle spending because they don't want to upset the welfare class. In short, the Liberals are cowards and they are complicit. They are not an opposition. They are controlled opposition. Until the Liberal Party is dismantled and replaced by a movement with true conservative conviction, Australia will continue to spiral into managed decline. Anyone still promoting the Liberals as a solution is on the wrong side of history and are only acting to protect their own positions. We need something new, something bold. The future of this nation depends on it. I'm Senator Alphabet for United Australia Party.
So there you go. I thought it was pretty well summed up, you know.
Yeah.
And it definitely addresses the causes for concern that we have here while you found your charger, which you seem to have managed to achieve. So there was a couple of things that people said here that I thought are relevant as well. So, you know, Martin wants to know who we're serving the documents to, but I guess that's part of the brainstorming operation. And
yes, this is part of the thing. If all Australians are going to unite and be a part of this, as you said, Betty, it's a bit of brainstorming. Who should these documents go to? Should they be sent to the Governor-General? Should they be sent to our Defence Force with a letter? I've also drafted a letter to the Defence Force because they are bound under their oath to protect the Commonwealth as well. So whether or not you send them to the...
On that note, you know,
yes.
Well, who is the Governor-General appointed by? And fundamentally, it's supposed to be, you know, according to Section 2 of the Australian Constitution, the Governor-General is appointed by the King, by His Majesty's representative in Australia. So that's an interesting concept into itself, because there doesn't seem to be a head of power to give the King any power in this country. That's another, you know, can of worms that Darren uncovered, you know, during the election.
Well, not the King of Australia.
Yeah, that's it. Who is the king? Who is the King of Australia?
Yeah.
You know, the King appoints the Governor-General on the recommendation of the Prime Minister. So fundamentally, the Prime Minister is putting the Governor-General into power. So why would the Governor-General stand against the government that gave that person the power? Would be the first thing I point out. You know, so this is ridiculous. But then you mentioned the military, but the Governor-General is also in control of the military. You know, the Commander-in-Chief of the Australian Defence Force, and have many constitutional. So yeah, it's as the Australian Constitution, the King, head of the state. However, because the King lives in Britain, his powers are delegated to the Governor-General, who lives in Australia. They are Commander-in-Chief of the Australian Defence Force. So I needed to put that first part in to give it context. So, yeah. So you're sending it to even if you send it to the Defence Force, you're sending it to the Governor-General, who was appointed by the Prime Minister. So we're in this fucking circle.
Yes, we are in this circle, and this is the problem. This is the issue. Where do we turn? Where do we turn? I feel as though the only way we are going to get anywhere with this is we must put down our demands. Put in writing, as this I've done with this covenant. We know what's going on. The Australian government is an unconstitutional entity, as are all of the sitting members and senators. So basically what we are demanding is that our constitution is adhered to. It must be adhered to, and currently everything is unconstitutional and illegitimate. And our government has been usurped. It's been usurped. This is not governance of the country. This is sabotaging our country. And I think it was Yolanda put up a comment as well regarding the Chinese warships there. Look, the government, there's also a case to be done against the government for their allegiances to foreign powers. I mean, the who's one thing, but as we've just said before, Albanese and Wong are clearly affiliated with the CPP. And then you've got our Attorney General of the Commonwealth, who really should be called the Attorney General of Israel, because he has been complicit and a part of the addition or the amendments to the Crimes Act, which has now got the I think hate speech or Nazi symbols or something in it of 2025. So our Attorney General, who is meant to protect us, is happy to jail his own people for 12 months if we wear a swastika or make a Nazi salute. Really? That is called our implied freedom of political communication. And it is not a crime to offend someone.
The communists and Marxists are allowed an opinion, and so are the socialists. But the Nazis were also a socialist worker party. So, and this is where things get really do my head in, because the Labour Party are a socialist workers party. Just they were the National Socialist. The German Nazi Party was the Socialist Workers Party. I struggle to see the difference between Labour's representation of those words. Look,
it's insane. Then you look at the Zionist Jews or the Ashkenazi. Now, look at how the spelling of Ashkenazi. This is once again, everything is just a contradiction and hypocrisy. The last four letters in the spelling of Ashkenazi is Nazi, Nazi. Now, one of their most sacred doctrines is the Talmud. Now, the Talmud is connected with the tarot, and one of their they've got the 3 or 4 sacred symbols. And get this, one of their sacred symbols is the swastika. Like, it couldn't get any more bloody insane than this. It's crazy. It's like we've got a government doing things to keep us safe, and they're killing us. They are doing things under the guise of, green renewable energy, which is destroying our wilderness, destroying our trees, our forests, etc. Everything they claim they are doing the opposite of. They are causing the issues. They wait for the reaction of the people, and then they offer a solution that is actually going to cause 10 times more damage. It's insane. Hey, you want to hear the other case?
Oh, that's right. Yes, go for it.
Okay, so this one is regarding, this is a case against the Commonwealth government as well. And this is pursuant to section 5123A. So the way, as I said, we need plaintiffs for these cases. So the Commonwealth is the defendant in this matter because they have done indirectly, which they cannot do directly. As we know, the Commonwealth cannot make any laws on the subject of health. Only the states can write regulatory laws for the providers of the services. The Commonwealth only have a funding power under 5123A, where all the benefits, services, pensions, medical services are listed. So what's occurred is the public health acts across the various states provided the civil conscription, the mandate of vaccination, to work. And, you know, this is all done under the Health Insurance Act, etc. So the Commonwealth has what's called impermissibly, they have contravened Section 5123A of the Constitution. So this is the thing. The power to fund the medical services pursuant to 5123A, this is where the head of power comes from. But there is a restriction on that power in that there can be no form of civil conscription. So there cannot be any forced legal or practical compulsion to either provide or receive the medical service of COVID-19 vaccination. So the Constitution clearly states and requires that there be no form of civil conscription in relation to the funding of the medical services. And this is imperative because it cannot be circumvented by any act of the Commonwealth or in combination with any act of a state or territory. So Section 5123A has been breached by the combined legal or operational effect of 20A of the Health Insurance Act. I won't go too deep into it all. So basically what's happened, the Commonwealth has done directly that which it cannot do directly. It provided the funding for the medical service for the vaccines, and the state of Victoria and every other state and territory provided the civil conscription through their health orders and directions. Like the shit fuckery, the deceit, the twisted webs of how they do things under the guise of law. And look, really, I think this is the way we do this. We are using the law, okay? We're using the law. We're going to beat them at their own game. We are going to be using the Constitution is our greatest weapon against them. They are the criminals. They've broken the law. So into the High Court.
Looking forward. So who's bringing that one? Sorry?
Sorry?
That's Rod. Is that Rod's case that he's bringing forth?
No, Rod's matter is a collateral attack on the Clive Palmer's matter, Palmer versus Western Australia.
Yeah.
Now, as I keep saying, these cases
do that properly. Yeah. So
these were designed. Sorry.
So who's bringing that one? When you just
Rod Culleton. Rod Culleton is doing the collateral attack on the Palmer matter.
Yeah, I know he's doing that one, but who the one that you just mentioned there regarding
we need plaintiffs. These are new cases that need to be lodged into the High Court. This is a call out for Australians who would like to stand up for the country and be plaintiffs. So in the matter against AHPRA and the Medical Board of Australia, that's going to be a class action that commences in the Supreme Court. And these other matters regarding the Commonwealth funding the state's civil conscription, making people of the vaccines that people were civilly conscripted to take. That is against the Commonwealth. And then the other one is pertaining to the Commonwealth Parliament cannot delegate their legislative making, their law-making power to a foreign corporation. It is strictly to them. And treaties can only be entered into between two or more independent nations, not a country and a corporation, or a company, a nation and a organisation or corporation. It just cannot be done. That is not how treaties are done. It's madness. It's absolute madness what's going on. So this is the way we do it. We go into the High Court and we remove, this is what you start removing the legislation that they have put in place that has enabled them to carry out what they've done on us. And then, of course, there's there's the land tax case, which is about to be done as well. This was prior to the fire levy, which has just come out. Like, this is insane. It's insane. They are taxing us to death. The power to tax is the power to destroy.
Yes.
And there's a lot of even US Supreme Court case law on that.
And I mean, let's not forget Robin Hood. There was a while, you know, Disney even did a little cartoon with some foxes and bears and bits and pieces, you know, to illustrate how bad taxes are. You know, I mean, as a kid, I remember watching the Disney one with the little foxes, Robin Hood and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, wonderful cartoon, one of my favorites. And I was absolutely astounded to realize taxation was still a thing. I'm like, was I the only one that watched that cartoon? What the fuck? How is this tax shit still going on? I thought it was the most disgusting thing I'd ever heard as a child.
How is it going on? Like, this is the thing, the Commonwealth has the right to tax, but you cannot tax people to destroy them, and this is exactly what's going on. As I said, the government has been usurped. They're not governing, they are sabotaging us. They are sabotaging the people. They're trying to push forward. Like, it's blatantly obvious. They want us to own nothing and be happy.
Yeah.
So,
well,
like,
as you know, a lot of misery to do that.
Yeah. Look, as you know, Batty, Darren Dixon from Constitution Watch, Daryl O'Brien, and Rod's have been doing a lot with all of these. They've done decades of work on everything to do with all the paperwork that like the seals, the letters patent, and there's a lot of shit fuckery going on. They're changing around the property laws, etc. But get onto Constitution Watch and have a look at that. And Rod did a very interesting interview with, what was his name? Andrew someone or other, which was great. It's a 2-hour interview. I've shared it on my Facebook, but this is what's occurring. I mean, you've got to think, after the war, Australians were given deeds to land. So it's all within the wording and what they're doing. They weren't titles, they were deeds. And then you've got the in fee simple, etc. You're probably more up on this than me, Batty. But
to a degree, I'm still wrapping my head around the whole in fee simple and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm bouncing between so many different ideas and so much stuff.
Yeah.
As I speak to so many people, I would consider most of my knowledge surface value. Enough to get by, to be able to sort of try and bring it to the lay person and get them thinking. I'm definitely attempting to take things to that next level as much as I can, and the more I have these conversations, the more I wrap my head around it. But I'm definitely very keen to see what comes of this, particularly in regards to what Len Harris is doing. I know he was forced back to the drawing board a few years ago as they uncovered a few things just before he was going to take the Queensland government to court, and had to withdraw, realizing that, hang on, this is a lot deeper than they thought. So I'm curious to see where that's at and what was going on. I know Darren and he had both sat down to sort of draw out what they knew and how they'd figured it out. And we've got that, Len Harris's original presentation that he presented here in Townsville, I think that was about 2, maybe 3 years ago, is still here. You won't find it on Facebook because Facebook is no longer a repository of knowledge. It only wants to know about things for 30 days. And outside, much like the mainstream media, they've adopted the idea of, if it's not new, it's not news. If it's not new, it's not relevant, which is utterly stupid and about as far from knowledge as you could possibly be. So I weep for Meta and its AI as it disregards a large portion of history. How can it possibly come to a decent conclusion? But that aside, this is the objection to land valuations. Is that what you were talking about from Constitution Watch? Yeah.
Oh, no, more along the lines of what's going on with deeds and titles and the changing of the titles, etc. Look, this is the other thing that you look at. So when you take a mortgage out, you hand over the parchment or the parchment document is given in trust to the bank. That's something else that, another case needs to be done with the banks. crucifying us with interest rates. But the
And
bank,
again, well, you can see they're in control because it's the Reserve Bank who comes out and says, now we're going to lower interest rates, when the government can do whatever the hell they like. But at the end of the day, where the government has no power seemingly to step in and go, right, time to bring these rates down. The banks just go, no, we'll do whatever we like, even to the extent that Senator Rennick, regardless of how some may feel about him, asked for, the information pertaining to our gold. Where is it? What's going on? And the banks basically turned around and said, well, you're just the government and we don't want to give you that information. Go outside and play hide and go fuck yourself.
the banks need to be brought back into line. They are intruding on our privacy. So that is another matter, another case that needs to be dealt with. But we need to get our Australia bank back here, because the Australian government has put it over in America. And my understanding is every time we access our money, we're charged interest. Like, the entire setup is there to destroy us. They've removed everything from this country. As I said, I keep saying this. The government's been usurped. We've got saboteurs sitting in government. They're not governing us. They are sabotaging this country. They have opened Australia up for plunder, and they are profiting. So, there's so much work that needs to be done, and they can shove their bloody royal commissions or, their parliamentary inquiries up their bloody ass.
Yeah, well, it does.
We're going to go and investigate ourselves? I don't think so.
Well,
there's so much stuff.
The banks, they found the banks were doing the wrong thing. And what came of it? Nothing.
Nothing.
It was
It's a joke. Look, this is what I keep saying. It's as if we are going through times which are testing not just our intelligence levels, our IQ. It's almost like a tolerance test, because they're not hiding things anymore. It is blatantly obvious in our face we are being screwed over. Our resources, our oil, our gas, etc., being sold to foreign corporations. What belongs to us, we are then buying back what's stolen from us at 50 times the price. Like, this is insanity. We have got to get this country back, and it's up to we, the people. So that's where I figure something like the Solemn League and Covenant pledge of Australians outlining, we are aware of the shit fuckery that's going on. This is what's going on. I've got a long version, which perhaps could be I don't know how you do this, like the founding document, and then we sign the one-pager. Because the 5-page document that I read out the other night, that is covering everything that has got to stop. All of this, all of the misinformation and disinformation, these agendas, this CO2 climate change bullshit, and everything they do with the wind turbines. Like, this is insanity. Is destroying us. Our forests are being destroyed. Nature handles it, and the forests, our wetlands, our grasslands, our pasture absorb CO2. They are what's called carbon sinks, as is the ocean. But then it's like this symbiotic relationship where they provide us with our fresh air, our oxygen. So net zero is, are people absolutely stupid? That means death to all life. They're killing everything. They're killing everything, Betty.
I know. It makes no sense. With carbon-based life forms, why would we want to reduce carbon? It's like literally saying that we are the enemy.
You just said it. We are carbon-based. What's it mean then? Net zero. Getting rid of us all.
And not just humans, but all life on Earth is carbon-based. Whether it's plants, whether it's fish, whether it's bears, whether it's, dogs, cats, the whole lot. Everything is carbon-based life.
Carbon-based, absolutely.
You want to annihilate the planet Earth. That's the way I translate it.
It's death. It's death to all life. Look, I don't know.
Well, they want to make way for silicon-based life form. Is that where we're going?
Sorry.
Artificial intelligence. We're going to. It's the Terminator on drugs. It's
interesting that all of the movies that they put out actually, like they're telling us. Like, what was that one? Hunger Games, and Oh, what was some of those really early ones with, I can't even think now.
Well,
But, you know, we're the
Terminator
out.
was probably one of the very earliest ones, but there's so many science fiction concepts of this nature. I
Yeah.
can't remember which one it was, but I remember watching it as a very young child. And the whole idea was, the planet Earth was coming to an end, and everybody had to sort of draw their name out of a hat, like they did with conscriptions and sort of stuff, and whoever's name come out, they got to go on the spaceship and fly off to the next planet, sort of thing, which is something that has been done many a time over in various different forms. Looks like we've lost Jacquie there at a very, very unappealing shot there. We'll wait for her to come back. But yeah, like there's some very disturbing science fiction concepts out there that are hard to swallow. And I'll just point out, Rachel Ross, like honestly, you can't write novels. It takes up half the screen. You got to try and bring it down to smaller sizes. I'm not controlling the comments. That's being controlled externally at the moment. So when you write a novel, it's not going to come up. I'll just let you know straight up. Sorry. 1-2 sentences, and don't just extract that point, the dot point to make it work. It doesn't work that way. But anyway, what Jacquie has presented here so far, and I'll just bring this up because she sent it through, is a bit of a draft idea of what she's talking about. And, this is obviously it's a brainstorm. It's something she's just come up with, which is the Solemn League and Covenant of the people of the Commonwealth of Australia. We, the undersigned people of the Commonwealth of Australia, in full knowledge of our sacred duty to future generations, are convinced the Parliament of the Commonwealth, the Australian government, is disastrous to our material well-being and that of our country. Unconstitutional laws suppressing freedoms of speech and movement, subversive and our civil and religious freedoms and right to bodily autonomy. 1 in 6 Australians in poverty, as billions are donated to foreign wars and genocide in Palestine. I think we could probably add to that when she comes back and add that to all the other wars as well, because I don't think it's just the genocide in Palestine. But again, to me, that whole thing, why are we funding Israel and Palestine? Like, this is just stupid. Like, personally, fund neither, or we don't want a part of this, bugger off, and why are we sending money in foreign aid if it's not even getting there? And if it's just going to get bombed. The whole thing is utterly moronic, and it is absolutely stupid. And I think the international stage is absolutely piss weak when it comes to the Palestine-Israel scenario, because all they do is talk shit, and they actually won't stand up for what they believe in. But there's also the Ukraine fucking crisis, which is, again, a load of shit. Should never have happened. That idiot should never have been empowered in any way, shape, or form to think he could take on Russia on his own. That is suicide. At least, forced suicide of his own people. I think he should be up on war crimes for what he's done. He's literally catapulting his own citizens into Russian tanks, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, our nation invalid by millions of migrants. Sorry, a few little typos we'll have to deal with here. Welcomed, given benefits and provided housing. I'm going to fix it because we can. Invaded. There you go. It looks better when I separate. I can read it. Welcomed. Migrants should be welcomed if they're here to immigrate properly and become a part of society. I think that's a welcome thing. But at the end of the day, if they're not, well, I'm not going to welcome terrorists and communists, for example, and potential spies. Given benefits and provided housing, places Australians in danger, evidenced by direct correlation to heinous crimes Doubling. Good to see I'm not the only one that forgets to put the space bar in. I've been learning a bit of German lately, and I keep fucking up by, not because I've misspelt the words, but I forgot to put a space in. Anyway, home invasions, rapes, and murders left to re-offend by a collapsing judicial system riddled with bias and collusion. We have no faith in judicial system. And on that note, actually, it was really good to see David Crisafulli make a statement. How well this comes to be, that it would seem that let's see if I can dig it up. The UN has stepped in and said you can't, deal with your crime problem. It goes against our shit. And Crisafulli basically turned around and said, "Fuck you! I answer to the Queensland people, and the UN can go and eat a dick." Which I thought was really good. It's good to hear him say that. I'm looking forward to seeing him standing by it, and I'm looking forward to him actually solving this crime problem, because, weak laws and, slaps on the wrist do not seem to get through to hardened criminals who have no respect for anyone or anything. QE2... Yeah, exactly. As I keep saying to everybody, frag there, mate. If you enjoyed living through, 2020 and 2021, which was Agenda 21, I'm sure you can't wait to see Agenda 2030. Has everybody got front row seats for that one? That's going to be a great exercise, And here we are leading up to it. All the pieces are being put in place right now, and will be for the next 5 years to set in motion 2020 Agenda 2030. So yeah, we should definitely be fighting absolutely everything these people do. The people are all land referred to as Commonwealth land in the Constitution is not owned by any government, department, or minister. No foreign power, no corporate or foreign corporate interest. Government does not own property, nor our land, soil, water, minerals, resources, and industries. It belongs to the Australian people and future generations yet unborn. And this is a similar concept to what the Indigenous believe, too. And this is where I think we should really be coming together with the Indigenous in a lot of ways too, because that is, we're sharing an ideology in that regard, that we are of the land, the land is of us, and what we take from the land we need to return in some way, shape, or form, and we need to be given just compensation for that which is taken. It's pretty straightforward, simple stuff in my mind, but apparently the greedy assholes don't seem to give a shit. Crisafulli is from Ingham, crime capital of the North. I don't know if Ingham is the crime capital of the North, but it seems to be regional Queensland, or regional Australia. This isn't just an isolated incident. Things are pretty bad here, that's for sure, Joanna. I agree with you. Things are horrible. And again, why people are making excuses for criminals does my head in. You're back. How you going, Jackie?
I'm back. I'm at my friend's place. I can't work out the leads in the power boards here, so my phone is flat.
Nah, all good, all good. We've just been going through your thing, and I've been putting all the space bars in because there's a couple of spots, I was correcting your lack of space bars and commenting on how it's not just me, because I actually fucked up a couple of little things on my German stuff that I was learning earlier, not because I got the words wrong, but because I forgot to put the fucking space in between the words.
Are you learning German?
Oh, I'm giving it a crack.
Ah. I lived in Germany for a few years. Taught myself German.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
help me out. I'm a little bit mind fucked with it at the moment. I think I pushed it a little bit hard today, and I got to a point where I just couldn't. Bit much. I still struggle with English, and here I am trying to learn German. But I found some interesting things with the German. Like the way they have, mine and minor. Like for the male and the masculine, and it got me thinking. I wonder how they're dealing with fucking weird ass no gender shit in Germany when the basis of their language is very gendered. Even
but hold on a minute. There is only masculine and feminine.
Yeah. Well, the dog has the masculine and a cat has a feminine, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. A mouse has a feminine, a bear has a masculine, and things like that.
It's the same in Latin.
Oh, okay, cool. I was actually
so like Latin, in French.
I'll add. Yeah.
La or le. Yeah. So yeah. I'll tell you a funny story. When I was in Berlin, I was waitressing at the Kleine Orangerie, which was the at the palace, the last palace that the Kaiser lived in, and
Right.
I didn't know my German that well, and some customers were there, and they were asking me, how long I'd been in Germany, where I was from, etc. So I'm trying to say in Germany that I've just arrived, and I was in Holland previously for the 12 months prior. So in German, as you know, it's if you put a g in front of something, it generally brings it into past tense. So I'm trying to say that I in dem Nederlands gelebt for ein Jahr. So I lived in Holland for 1 year. And these two guys just sort of looked at each other, and I'm thinking, oh, fuck, what did I just say? So I've gone back, and they said, no. You've told them that you've had lovers in Holland for the last 12 months. Because gelebt is lovers, and home would have been, or lived would be gewohnt. Oh my God, I was so embarrassed. I did some silly things like that. Anyhow.
Wow. You can see there's a lot of similarities in the language, and then there's some things that it's completely askew. I'm still trying to get my head around. I think it was goodbye. It's like a huge string of letters.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah, was that one? No.
Auf Wiedersehen is goodbye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
English is a Germanic language.
Yeah, but there's like, is there like a simplified German and a complex German? I think is what I'm trying to.
Well, there's slang like there is here. So rather than saying, Guten Tag, wie geht's dir? Hello or good day, how are you? You just go, na und wie geht's dir?
Righto.
Like, yeah, how are you?
Nah. Yeah, right. It isn't yeah.
No, na with an N. Na und wie geht's dir?
Righto.
Means like, hey, how are you? And ja is yes.
Yeah.
God, I haven't spoken it for over 25 years.
Oh, wow, you're doing better.
Anyhow, what do you reckon?
I'm still at primary school level, so.
Oh, and I taught myself, so my grammar's absolutely shocking. It was just from listening to the TV and and having around me all the time. But lots of similarities. The grammar's all over the place. So what do you reckon, Betty, or Australians, what do you reckon we do? Other than these high court cases, we've got to get into the court. We've got to remove one brick of the wall at a time. And this whole bloody brick wall will come down because we're operating lawfully and they are not. And then something that, so the other thing with this Solemn League and Covenant, and as I said, this is just in draft stages, I need to put in here, well, when we sign this, that we demand, with this covenant, that the High Court addresses matters of great significance, constitutional significance, anything to do with our constitutional guarantees and protections being adhered to, and that is of great interest to the general public, must be heard in the High Court. So basically we need to go in there and demand our constitutional rights are upheld. There's so much we need to get done. We've got the attorneys generals, probably the governor general, etc. They are all absolutely derelict in their duties. They are not going over and checking these laws the bills they're passing into law to see if they are in line with the Constitution. As every law is subject to it, it also must have a traceable source of legislative authority, is what it's called. So you must be able to trace every law back to what's called the head of power under Section 51. So every law that is created, you must be able to trace back to one of the subject matters listed under Section 51. Like, interestingly enough, so I don't like to use the word sovereign, and I certainly do not like to use the word citizen. I did some interesting research on that.
Sovereign. I mean, obviously, because we're not kings, I'm guessing.
Yes, exactly. And when we are spoken of, when you see like a sovereign country or what have you, it really is about the crown, under the crown. So, and citizen really denotes us as slaves under the government. I don't like the terminology at all.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
I object to a lot of terminology. I object to the terminology of God just because it's been so tainted by so many misconceptions in my mind.
Well, at the bottom, I've got so many things. So at the end of this, I've got, and to this solemn covenant we pledge our names in peace and in honour with the blessing of Almighty God, invoking divine guidance. So, look, because the Constitution was put in place, with the blessing of Almighty God. So I wanted to reflect that in there.
I put up with the term, I guess, because that's what people know and comprehend. I'm more of a universal kind of a person myself. Like,
Same here. It's
the one infinite creator is a term that springs to mind. I guess
yes,
God
creator
is supposed to embody that concept, but unfortunately, it's the term has been used with, for instance, Allah Akbar, kaboom. I don't agree with that use of killing in the name of and things like this.
Yeah, but that's just our misuse of things. So yeah, I like
exactly.
creator. I really do like creator, but in the I guess in the essence of Christianity and how our country was founded, how the founding fathers, established us. We federated and the Constitution came into place. So it's sticking within that vein. And, you've got to acknowledge, I think it's section 116 of the Constitution. Everybody has got the right to practice whatever religion or belief, that is from their culture, their history, their background, or what have you. And everyone has just got to respect each other's views. We are never going to agree on everything. We just have to agree to disagree, but remain united in respect that we have different opinions. But, you draw the line at anything that is going to cause harm to our children, for example. Like, I do not care if you are transgender. Some of my dearest mates are gay. I don't care. Just do not bring it in front of our children. This is adult business. You make your decisions and all of this, mutilation of the body. With the hospitals and the government supporting.
I'm concerned more for people's health in this instance. I mean, okay, cool. Like the way I comprehend the scenario at the moment is that, okay, so you're supposed to be this transgender, and they identify this with what could easily be classified as a mental condition known as gender dysphoria, and the solution is physical surgery for a mental condition. This makes no fucking sense. It's like, I've got a broken leg, on a physical realm, so we're gonna do a lobotomy to reverse the concept. It makes no fucking sense.
I usually give the analogy. So what this is, being the government has got anorexic people in front of them, so they are going to provide them with diet pills.
Yeah. Which is straight out of, I'm pretty sure that was an Orwellian concept, or was that a different book I read?
I don't know. I don't even know where I got that. But
yeah, I remember. I'm pretty sure it was the Ministry of Health that was offering diet pills to the anorexic and hamburgers to the fat. Something to that effect. It's been a long time since I read Orwell's 1984 thing. I'll have to read it again. Pretty sure that it was that one.
It seems to be setting out the guidelines of what's happening to us now. Maybe that's the government's book on how to govern.
No,
the main thing is we've got to get our we have got to get our country back. We've got the right to self-govern. We have got the right to be self-sufficient, self-sustaining, have our manufacture and production brought back home into Australia, and to educate our own without the bloody Rockefeller or WHO or World Economic Forum interfering. You know, we need to ensure that the Constitution and the story of our founding fathers, all our constitutional rights and guarantees are put back into the curriculum, because this is a big thing. We've got to go back to grassroots. We must remove all of these chemicals and shit, all of the geoengineering, all the chemicals they're putting in our air. Like, there's so much shit going on. It's this is the other thing. It's too overwhelming for people. I mean, you know, with HAARP is actually interfering with the ionosphere.
Yeah.
Like, who the hell gives these people the right to interfere with nature on such a massive level? It's crazy. It's crazy.
And, I mean, and fair enough. You want to kill yourself. That's okay. You know, you want to go and kill yourself. You know, I know the Bible and certain religions have a bit of a problem with suicide. You know, I personally, I think it's a horrible situation. Anybody be even contemplating such a thing, but to be contemplating suicide on a global scale, you don't just want to kill yourself. You want to kill us all. Now that is fucking absolute lunacy. You know, to be fucking with our ionosphere, which could have God knows what effects, not only for you yourself, but everybody else, is the height of selfishness.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth, as it is in heavens. Interesting. And in Genesis,
while we're going back
create
to
the firmament.
It got me thinking here with what 116, you know, the Commonwealth shall not make any laws for establishing any religion. Can we declare freedom as our new religion?
You know what? We should start up. Well, I don't like using that term freedom, because for me, we started out as a truth movement. And then it got infiltrated by a freedom movement and people marching through the streets going, freedom, freedom. And it used to infuriate me. I used to run up and have a megaphone off saying, we are free. Just stand up and frickin' own it. What the fuck are you asking for us?
So I would argue that we've
heading.
never known what true freedom is, because I remember looking the word freedom up and it said see liberty, and then I looked up liberty and liberty was absolute freedom. You know, it's like this interesting cycle of backwards and forwards throughout the dictionary, you know, but absolute freedom, the freedom to do whatever the fuck you want. It's almost anarchy.
That's liberty, is it? Okay.
Well, that was the dictionary I read as a kid, you know. Again, this much like the Bible, there's many fucking versions of it. Which one's the right one, you know? And you know, and even coming up with North Queensland Freedom Network was, am I going to go with freedom or am I going to go with truth? Because that was another suggested concept. Is it the North Queensland Truth Network or the Freedom Network? I'm not sure which way we go.
The truth will set you free.
The truth will say, but that's where it became the other thing. All right, cool. I'm going to do the North Queensland Freedom Network, and then we'll use the truth will set you free. So I encompass both concepts. But fundamentally, I mean, truth can also be, you know, perspective. And I do have a little video here that I always find very relevant for such an occasion.
So what I told you was true from a certain point of view.
A certain point of view?
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
So that's what kept me away from truth, because truth is a point of view in a lot of cases. You know, I mean, you know, particularly when we're on religion, you know,
I don't know if I agree with that statement.
Truth. Well, the statement's relevant if you've seen Star Wars and you're a Star Wars nut like me, you know, where, you know, in this particular instance, Obi-Wan has spent the whole time telling Luke that, you know, Darth Vader, you know, betrayed and murdered his father, but Darth Vader is his father. So it's like his evil self betrayed his good self. you know, because he's had a paradigm shift. He's gone from the light to the dark, you know, and it's just as much a coping mechanism for Obi-Wan to speak it in that way as it is for, you know, an educational tool for Luke to learn it that way, you know. So the truth is subjective to your point of view.
I don't know. I don't. I'll have to look into that a little bit more deeper. We might have to agree to disagree for the time being.
Yeah, I'm grabbing Star Wars and using it in a biblical construct as a story that teaches. And that's the way I like to look at biblical anything, or
yes,
you know,
I see.
anything,
I see.
a story that teaches. How do we perceive things? And you know, at the end of the day, how we perceive reality is very much dependent on your own point of view. You know, the jab it is safe because I took it and survived. You know, the jab is not safe because I took it and ended up with myocarditis. The jab is certainly not safe because I had no intention of being medically experimented on. So, you know, we're looking at, you know, one particular element, but how we perceive that as a truth is dependent on our personal point of view.
Yes, look, this is the thing, you know, as we know, the English language is the most bastardized. I watched something the other day, very interestingly, that we have a lot of, it was an alarming amount of words that are disappearing from our vocabulary and being removed from the dictionaries. So we are losing our language. As you know, as most of us know, it's not just what you
times over. Liberty, Liber code, nice, like that one. Bringing in the German again, but
yes.
Oh, I lost that thought when I seen that. But the lies. You know, the truth is the truth, but the truth, I'm sorry, in a lot of cases, is the point of view, because we are, as Graham Hancock would say, a species with amnesia. We don't know the truth. It's not a case of we can't handle the truth, as we've seen, you know, from the whatever that movie was, like, it escapes me so many times. We wouldn't know the truth if it fucking fell out of the sky and landed in front of us, because everything is so riddled with lies, deception, twistings and turnings, you know, that we are very much living in a case of what we believe, you know, and the faith that we have in that.
It's more what we've been led to believe.
Yeah.
Shoot. That's the thing, really. You know, when we had our last chat that went on for goddamn ever and a day, so polished, aren't I, bloody presentations. I forget we're on live sometimes. This is the thing. It's an indoctrination, you know, as we know. So, and everything has been altered over and over. But there's lots of key words, I think, or in scriptures of all the different faiths, which really do pertain to, you know, God is within us. The divine is within us. And I don't know if you got a chance to read the Bloodline of the Holy Grail, or you know, go over some of that stuff. But Jesus was teaching that God is within us. We are all sons and daughters of God, or Creator.
I'll agree with.
My daughter came home speaking Chinese the other day because her Chinese friend only wanted to talk to her in Chinese. Good idea to learn Chinese, actually. Can know what's going on. I know Chinese.
There's nothing wrong with learning any language, really. I
think
the more the better. You know, I wish
we got taught Chinese in school. Zhao ni hao ma.
Yeah, ni hao.
Hello, how are you?
Yep.
Yes. Anyhow, back to these court cases, please, Australians. We need plaintiffs for these matters. This is how we remove these ridiculous unconstitutional laws under which they are, you know, creating these situations for us. So there's tax cases, land tax cases. We've got the ones against AHPRA and the Australian Medical Board. These are very important cases. Our doctor-patient relationship, you know, especially in these times. My grandfather's also is, we are in times of calamity here. We are in a very perilous situation. We've been sold out. So Dr. Beverley's matter is going to stop the ability to force vaccination in order to go to work, and stop the ability of corporations and their policies to do the same thing. Very important. Rod Colton's matter, the Section 92, I didn't quite cover that. Clive Palmer's matter was designed to fail. So were a lot of the others. So Palmer's matter was really only addressing the trade and commerce limb of Section 92. Rod is addressing the intercourse limb, which is us in our own private and personal capacity, to travel interstate for, to visit friends or family or whatever, a holiday. So Clive Palmer's matter didn't address that. Secondly, his QC, Queen's Counsel, he should know well and truly what he's doing, did not bring it as his arguments in as constitutional matters because he only challenged the directions of the Cho of WA. What he had to do, which is what Rod is doing, is challenging the validity of the Act, the Emergency Management Act, and those sections
And
that...
wasn't that hinted at by the judge at the time?
Say again?
Wasn't that hinted toward?
Damn straight it was.
The judge himself. Are you sure you don't want to do it in this manner?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm handing you the answer here. Oh, no,
Yes,
I fucking know everything. I'm a lawyer. Fucking.
Well, he's a QC. He's Queen's Counsel. He's top of the range.
And definitely know better.
He did the same thing and threw a case in Liberty Works versus the Commonwealth doing the same thing. So the Constitution's restraint is upon the Act, which sits above the Chos. So the Chos get their power from the Act. So Brett Sutton got his power from the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. Whoever was over in WA got his power from the Emergency Management Act, and so on. So not challenging the validity of the Act meant that the Act was valid, and the Constitution only operates upon the Act. So it wasn't a constitutional matter, and that's what Chief Justice Keefe said to Dunning, asking him 3 times, are you not challenging the validity of the Emergency Management Act? 3 times she asked him, 3 times he said no. And that's when she said, you can see it in the transcript, well, Mr. Dunning, we don't have a constitutional matter. It was ludicrous. And then he made some ridiculous remark.
Yeah, I'm certainly not a Queen's Counsel or anything close to, but even I could see the judge is giving it to you. Why the fuck are you denying it?
Yes, she was basically telling him what he needed to do, and she didn't. So then he made the most ridiculous comment. He said something along the lines of, and just like in Gratwick versus Johnson. Now that is one of the landmark cases in Section 92 in 1945, where Dulcie Johnson wanted to visit her fiancé interstate. So it was about intercourse travel in times of war. So it was in times of emergency, and an officer tried to stop her crossing the borders. And Dulcie Johnson won in the High Court. The High Court said, even in times of emergency, our movement cannot be stopped. The Constitution cannot be suspended or disregarded. So Dunning made this stupid comment about, just like in Gratwick versus Johnson, and Justice Edelman nearly straight away corrected him along the lines of, like words to the effect of, but professionally saying, like, what the F are you talking about? Gratwick and Johnson was nothing about that, you idiot. That's basically what Edelman said to him. It was ridiculous. The other thing is they allowed for the McCloy testing for the courts to come in and utilise this. As I said, it's called the McCloy test, where something is weighed up to see if it is arbitrary, if it's fair, if it's reasonable. So this was the other thing. So this is the other element of challenge Rod is putting to his case, is the courts cannot make a determination as to whether an act is fair or reasonable. Courts, we don't give a rat's ass if you think it's fair or reasonable. Your only role here is to determine, is it lawful or is it constitutional? So it is ultra vires the court. It is outside of the power of the court to determine whether legislation is fair or reasonable. So due to the separation of powers, it's up to the legislative branch creating the laws and the acts to make that determination, not the bloody court. So that's being challenged, as well as the rollover power. You know, where they continually rolled it over month after month after month. Can't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I look forward to seeing that being challenged adequately and properly. But to return back to our concept of the brainstorm, let's get that going, because we're rapidly approaching 2-hour mark at this point.
Oh, yes.
We're very good at having a yarn, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I
much.
know, and I forget we're on
them.
we're on a live. Sorry, people. God, got to get more professional with this. All right.
It's all good. So, I mean, you know, I've taken the people through the majority of what's been said here. And I think this is we get this audience engagement thing going on, perhaps. And let's have a look at some of the things that have been starred over the last, hour and a half. So Oliver said 33 trillion. We are the richest nation. I'd appreciate any sources for that available, but it doesn't surprise me. So, if we can get some documentation out and we can post that.
I'll send it through to you, Betty.
Yeah,
I'll send it through to you. Apparently, you can look up on I don't know. It's on one of the government websites. I'll ask Trish where she found it. But look, we've got so much, things we have got to sort out. There is so much corruption. It is insane. As I said, the government are the executors and trustees of our land. Theft and fraud is occurring in this country. They have stolen what belongs to we, the people. Then you've got the immigration issues, where this is not immigration.
And the Indigenous are horrifically
it's an invasion.
By that too. And as I've pointed out, there's, registered about 900,000 Indigenous people in this country. The actual, people who are the bloodline connected to this land.
Yes.
I'm not even going to go there. That's a whole nother kettle of
it is a whole nother thing, but they are making them even more and more and more a minority.
I was about to shoot off on a left-wing, right-wing tangent and conservative and all that, and but that's another thing. I'm not going to do that. We're going to deal with the fact 900,000, not even 1 million, native-born people here, and Albo brought in 1.3 or 1.4 million people in 3 years.
They brought in about 8 million overall, I think. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So this is the other thing we've got.
25, I think close to 25% of the Australian population were not born in Australia at this point. So a quarter of the people here at the moment were not born here. We've imported that many people.
Look, it's concerning.
In 1988, I've got one of them bicentenary fucking little things, and it told me it was, or was it when I was born? I can't remember. It's either 1980 or 88. It's about 14 million people were in Australia. We're now at about 28. In my lifetime, they've doubled the fucking population, and mostly through immigration.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the thing is that the majority of the people that they are bringing in are from the countries such as India and China. That those two countries alone, their populations equate to half of the world's population in total. And India has such a high birth rate that in 10 years, their increase in population equated to more than the entire population of the United States. So at this rate, and we're not having children, but it's all in the agenda. Let me get back to this. We need to address the closure of our farms, factories, acquisition of our ports, water rights, infrastructure deals, tollways, titles, offices, etc. The government is siphoning our wealth. That is what they are doing. And with the theft and fraud, they are crippling our nation. And this is all on purpose. Tax-exempt corporations, and they're taxing us to kill us. It's crazy. All the psychological warfare that, has gone on, the COVID-19 propaganda, the climate hysteria, the gender ideology, it's absolutely insane. People don't know where to turn or where to look. And
well, even as
when
you
you
were
look at
explaining this to me, I added a few points to you that you hadn't thought of too. In relation to the 28 names that the parliamentary pedophile protection system has put in place to protect, high rolling pedophiles.
oh yeah,
And the way that our police force and the media and the judiciary is protecting the Labor Party regarding the red shirt scandals and Dan
yes,
Andrews Black Boy scandal and God knows what else they're covering for the Labor Party. I mean, there's so many bits of footage going around from various politicians, not just here in Australia but globally, of them quickly pushing aside a line of cocaine or God knows what methamphetamine they're having. I mean, Dan Andrews himself was caught on TV, snorting lines. We've got Keir Starmer recently. They were putting away their drug paraphernalia while the cameras were rolling, and their eyes.
Is that what was going on in that video? I never quite got it.
Snorting something. They were snorting something. Where most likely coke. I mean, we've seen Jacinta Ardern. The bitch from across the ditch. There's all over the internet smoking crack pipes. Fuck knows what she was smoking. Could have been anything. But these high-profile people who are running it are clearly drug addicts. On top of it.
And no doubt pedophiles and involved with the child trafficking. Look, this is, I won't go over everything, but that is what you just, raised then, the issue. We need to challenge the ability of the states or the Commonwealth to conceal documents from the public when crimes have been committed. So this is the thing we need to ask for documents to be opened. And if they refuse to do it, then we need to go in and challenge it under an act. Because this is the thing, there's been a lot of unlawful interference by the Commonwealth into certain state matters. Now, that occurred in Martin Bryant. The anomalies there are astronomical. So we've got let me have a look at it. There is an act, that they put into place, in particular, wherever. It's section 33 from memory. Where on earth is that? Oh, I've got so much paperwork here. No, I'm not going to be able to find it. There is an act that they have put in place under which
the Constitution?
No, not of the Constitution, of an act that they put. Here we go. So we need to concentrate on section 33 of the National Archives Act. So that is governing the public release of Commonwealth records. Okay, so it's hiding all the cover-ups, such as the red shirts, Martin Bryant. I mean, my heart just bleeds for that man.
Is that the Archives Act 1983, yeah?
Yes, the Archives Act 1983, Section 33, governs the public release of the Commonwealth records and files contained. So a lot of these files are labelled or referred to as ongoing risks or sensitivities. So these files are potentially concealing heinous crimes that have been committed by the Commonwealth against the people. Such as what they've done to Martin Bryant. They slaughter people.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
He's so guilty. Let's see the trial. Put him on trial.
This is the thing. They've created acts to protect criminals. This is the thing. They are concealing their actions and their crimes behind legislative tools. So we need to demand immediate release and investigation. And in particular, all files associated with high-profile or controversial cases, anything to do with internal government communications, political or diplomatic implications, etc. We need everything, and it needs to be thoroughly investigated. Let's see what's really going on. And the other thing is, surveillance, all of this surveillance that they've put up on the people, that is unlawful. They are not allowed to put surveillance up on us. The surveillance cameras must be turned on to Parliament. And we need to do a lot of investigating and
well, that's it. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. We're supposed to have these surveillance shit all over the place because we might, knock over a little old lady or some shit. We might have a car accident or whatever. Okay, fair enough. You want to fucking spy on us? 24/7. Every fucking place in that frigging parliament should be under video
Absolutely.
surveillance. Everything you sign, everything you do, everyone
Absolutely.
you meet with. You want to surveil us, you start. A good leader leads by example.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, they are not allowed to put us under surveillance in case we do something. It's almost like the High Court case of Cable versus DPP. We
Yeah.
are not accountable to them.
Yeah.
They, however, are accountable to us. They are our public servants. And the shit fuckery that is blatantly has been occurring for decades now is just, that evidences why we need to have all the surveillance turned in on them. Anyone in Parliament that has anything to do with suppression of files, any foreign deals with corporations, the sale of our resources, our land, giving away our ports, the parliamentarians giving themselves water rights, etc. Every single one of these members, past and present, all of their family members, affiliates, associates, what have you, all of their bank accounts, assets, estates, etc., need to be put under high scrutiny. All of their transactions. How come all these parliamentarians are millionaires?
Yeah.
What is going on? We've been sold out.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. It's insane.
And again,
we do not need government.
The capital gains scenario.
Oh, man. Like,
we're going to attack anybody who's rich, except anybody who works for government, anybody who's a judge, anybody who's a copper, anybody who might actually have any power against us, we'll look after.
Are they
But
exempt?
everybody else go get fucked. Yeah.
What? From the capital gains tax?
The capital gains tax that they're putting on superannuation to the tune of 3 million and above. No one in politics is liable to pay that. The judges are not liable to pay that. The coppers are not liable to pay that. Only the general.
Can you send that to me, Betty?
Yeah, no worries. I'll dig it up.
You know what's occurring? This is something else that the Constitution prohibits, for there to be two classes. We are all equal. We are all to be treated equally in the eyes of the law. They cannot create two.
We've been saying it for decades. There's rules for them and rules for us.
Absolutely. And this just evidences it. It's the same with the vaccines, that they, Commonwealth officers didn't have to get it. Like, it's just, and Brett Sutton made some comment when someone asked him on a media interview, and he said, oh, because we're protected under the Constitution. Just us public servants and Commonwealth officers. People, it's blatantly in front of our faces. We've been totally screwed over. So any input into this Solemn League and Covenant and how this should be and who this should be presented to, anything that needs to be added, any thoughts, etc., let me know, and let's get this out across the country so our public servants can see.
Share your email on this particular instance. The one that
which one?
So the people can contact you in regards to their thoughts and feelings on this particular instance. Should I give them the Constitution email that you've sent this stuff to me, so they can? Hey, I reckon this, I reckon that, or have you got another way you'd like? What is
the best way to do this, Betty? You know, I'm not very good technically, and my Constitution.
Email is the easiest way. Like, I mean, look for the time being, and perhaps till we figure out the details. People can contact me at North Queensland Freedom Network at protonmail.com, and I can pass things on to Jackie.
That would be greatly appreciated. I've only got a small account with my Proton Mail, and if it gets too clogged, I can't get emails.
Oh, so I ended up paying for it. I thought it was just.
I can't, mate. Like, we're struggling. I'm struggling a bit every now and then. Like, we work, I work
we
for
all
nothing.
are. It's like,
do this for the country. We're all struggling.
Wonderful Patreons and contributors of the network that I'm like, okay, I'm going to pay for the Proton Mail to expand its capability so I can deal with everything that's coming at me. NQ Freedom Network at protonmail.com. Shoot me a line if you want to contribute.
Thank you so much, Betty.
And I'll filter it out to Jackie from there.
Awesome. Thank you. And anybody that is interested in being involved, being a plaintiff in matters such as the ones we addressed, if you could please send your interest to info@knowyourrights.com.au. And if that doesn't work, info@knowyourrightsgroup.com.au. God, we're professional, got everything worked out, polished.
We figured it out. We're still not sure on this email, but we'll get there.
I know.
One of them will work. We'll find it out.
Yeah.
We'll have
Get
to chase
behind
that up
Dr.
with her.
Beverly, please. She needs your support. This is a landmark case. This is going to stop vaccination in the workplace for every single Australian. This is crucial, and have the ramifications that corporations are going to be held to the same. So it's a big one. It's a very, very big case, extremely important now. And this, especially seeing as we've signed the bloody WHO treaty, it's got the next one around the corner. It's insane.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. So let's have a look at some of these comments. Martin is, how do you suggest supporting them?
Support who?
You are still looking for white hats to save you
What
again.
are you talking about, Martin Taylor?
Well, this was from a while ago.
Dr. Beverly has got a give, send, go account to help her fight in the courts because they keep putting costs against her.
On that, Martin, sorry, because that question was about at 1:30, so that was like an hour and a half
Oh,
ago.
you are still looking
pertaining
for
to anything.
white hats to save you again.
Yeah, so
White
again,
hats. Listen here, I don't trust
I'm
anything.
theorizing that what he's trying to say here is that do we send this to the Governor General? Do we send it? Who do we send?
How
this
do you
to?
suggest supporting them? I don't understand what that question even means.
White
hats, I certainly don't believe in.
Have you got a suggestion? Would be a better return.
Yeah, how do you suggest supporting them? You are still looking for. I don't even get that. I don't trust what's going on with Trump.
Can you clarify that if you're still watching, Martin? Otherwise, let's keep
Kennedy,
moving.
Elon Musk, they're all psyops.
Trump state, yes, Karen. The Commonwealth does Trump state. That's a
Commonwealth. Absolutely, it does. Absolutely. How did the Commonwealth mandate military conscription in the? They can't. They are not allowed to do what they're doing. This is the shitfuckery that is going on. They are breaking the highest law in the land. And this is very, very concerning that they are still insisting that our Defence Force are being vaccinated. And we know what the consequences of that is now. So what is that also telling you? They are weakening
of our own military
Defence Force. Absolutely.
Not to mention you're getting them around in high heels and fucking, rainbow haircuts. Like, what the
fuck?
Look,
they're not allowed to mandate it. And this was the thing with the Section 109 that Dr. Beverly is doing. And this is also pursuant to the other matter that we are looking for plaintiffs in. And this is taking the Commonwealth because they funded the vaccines under the state's civilly conscripting people. So absolute blatant breach. I hope that answers the question.
I'd put military conscription in, again, another childhood trauma next to the realization that the government's going to steal everything you work for. So again, to me, as a child, realizing that everything you work for, they're going to steal in some way, shape, or form. And if that's not good enough, if we decide we want to, start a war in some faraway land for whatever reason, we're going to steal you off the streets, as we've seen happen to Ukrainian citizens, literally mugged, hijacked, taken from the streets, thrown in a van, and then forced into military service. That was even more fucking traumatizing than being robbed blind through taxation. This in ourselves, these two concepts, as a child, showed me that the government is the biggest enemy we have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I said, I keep saying it, our government has been usurped. They are being run by foreign powers. They are sabotaging us and our nation. They are raping and pillaging our wonderful nation and destroying everything. It's not just, the stealing of the wealth. It's killing all of our, you know, beautiful wildlife and habitats and environment, poisoning our waters. You know, everyone go back and have a look at the Murray-Darling Basin. Have a look at what Santos is doing up at the Pilliga. You know, the fracking that's going to desecrate the Artesian water basin, which is the most pristine water source in the world. They're destroying everything.
That is such a, and they want to say that they care about the Indigenous people while they do these things to the land. Get fucked. What a lie.
Look,
that's all right. We've got a you know, a sellout ready to stand in front of a footy field, you know, and put
distraction.
on and that's okay. We've given them the acknowledgement they need while we go and rape and pillage the land.
Yes.
Fucking astounding, you know. And on that note, that leads us to this particular question by Karen. So the Aboriginals cannot treaty with the government. Well, if you go back to my original video that I did during the Yes No Camp shit, you know, a year or two ago, you'll see that the Indigenous that I interviewed openly said, no, we can't treaty with the Australian government because they have nothing we want.
Well, treaties also, you cannot enter into a treaty within a nation. It can't be done.
Yeah.
Everything, it's all fraud. It's all an illusion. They are doing these things, but there is no rule of law. There is no constitutional law behind it. No natural law behind it. It's all a scam. It's the same as this voice referendum, which, as we know, is just another land grab effort. You cannot have a referendum based on the same subject matter as a previously successful referendum. So in 1966, they had a successful referendum that included Aboriginals into the Constitution. Did our First Nations, did our Aboriginals have a say in that vote? No, they didn't. And everyone was, oh, yes, you know, they've got to be included in the Constitution. Really?
They were classified as fauna.
Oh, look, don't go back into like all of that. That's all incorrect. So, sorry, that's correct at the beginning, but it's not an argument to be entered into. And I query this because it's a great big distraction. I do understand that, but in 1966, bringing them into the Constitution allowed the Parliament to make laws for them, you know, and so that they could be counted in the census. Well, you know what? If I was a First Nation person, I would say, no, thanks. I don't want you to be able to write laws for me, and I don't want to be counted in your census.
There are a lot who are doing that, and that's why they get their poster boys from footy teams and whatnot, who don't understand the complexities of these concepts. You know, they're very good at throwing balls, and it's wonderful that they can kick and throw and chuck a ball.
They're great athletes. Yes, a lot of great athletes.
Very, very, very. You know,
and there are in every race,
in way, shape, or form for the one thing that they're good at. But they are not politicians, and they should not be advising people on political concepts. You know, considering a vast majority of the Indigenous population don't want to register with the Australian government because they don't acknowledge it as a power, because it's not really the true law of the land.
Well, that's the thing. They've got their own law, but look, I don't know. I always just throw ideas out there, and it was only when I went up to Canberra and I recognised that out of the I've forgotten now, so I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude. I've forgotten how many tribes, including clans, there is, but there's well over 370.
369. 369
okay.
Tribal nations here in this country, and that coincides with the amount of rivers, which is the way I remember it. And 369, 369. It's a wonderful.
Yes, there is, isn't it?
And it's one of Tesla's favorite numbers.
Yeah. So this is the thing. They've all got their own laws.
So much.
Every tribe, every clan's got their own law, so there's no uniform law across the nation. So for all of us with the European background that have come in, and, you know, as you just said, how many of us are there here now? I don't know. We must be at 27, 28 million now. I don't know.
We're pretty close to 28, if not past.
Yeah, it would be. So let's just say there's 27 million of us. So
And I just,
we need
sorry,
to have a solid, sound structure in law, a good legal framework, and the Constitution provides us protections and guarantees against a tyrannical government. They are in blatant and utter disdain of it. They are ignoring it. We need to ensure that it is upheld. Got to get rid of this bloody government. So,
yeah. So, and I just
yes,
posted in the comments there for anybody who's interested, the original Voice to Parliament video.
universal number 369. It's a special number.
4,000 views here on Rumble. It got like about 40,000 on X, and half of that was done after the Voice to sent it. It was basically sent to crying leftists who were constantly going on about, oh my God, the poor Indigenous people. What, these ones who didn't want it? And the people just kept using my video to show people who were crying about how racist Australia was. No, the Indigenous didn't want it either. Fuck off. And these same people who I interviewed went on radio here in Townsville. There was a couple, I think it was about 4 or 5 of them here. For the no camp, and they had maybe 1 or 2 people for the yes camp, and the yes camp ended up capitulating and going along with the no camp in the end because they realized they were right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look, it's all a scam. You've got to look into all of the money that was spent on that yes campaign for an invalid referendum on the same subject matter as a previous, the 1966 referendum. Utter bullshit. 40 million there. And look how much money has gone into all of these corporations or organisations that are meant to be there supporting and looking after all of the organisations set up by government for our First Nations. How much money have they laundered into all of that administration? Like, it is literally hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars over years. Every First Nation should be a millionaire, the amount of money. Yeah. That's the thing, comfortably. Every First Nation should be a millionaire. And you've got beautiful people trying to think of her name now. First Nation lady up in, I think it was in rural Victoria, could have been New South Wales, but they set up projects to educate their youth and give them programs to assist them, and the government comes in, shuts them down, and wants them only to be involved with what the government's doing, or else they're locking them in jail.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
That's it. You can have there's billions and billions of dollars for the Indigenous, so long as you do as you're told.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example of it here with recently with the Melbourne Storm pulling its welcome to country ceremony after what happened at Anzac Day. The Victorian Aboriginal Health Service ends partnership. Now, this is an interesting one because when way I read this, the Victorian Aboriginal Health Service has ended its association with Melbourne Storm NRL club following the club's abruption cancellation of welcome to country ceremony last month. The controversy began when the Warren Didgeridoo elder Auntie Joy Murphy-Waden was informed just hours before the club's Anzac Day match against the South Sydney Rabbitohs that her scheduled welcome to country ceremony had been cancelled. The move drew immediate criticism, and the club later attributed the decision to a miscommunication between management and the board. In a firm statement, VAS, which is the Victorian Aboriginal Health Service, had terminated its announced its termination of Deadly Choices campaign in partnership with Melbourne Storm, including all associated community intervals. Now, what it doesn't mention is how much money is taken from Victorian Aboriginal Health Services and given to the Melbourne Storm.
Get out.
That's what's really look at it. That's what they mean by withdrawing their support. They're withdrawing their funds. So I look at it as a win. I think this is a win for the Indigenous people because now the Victorian Aboriginal Health Service has so much more money that they can actually help Aboriginal people with their health.
Oh, but do you really think they do? Because the Aboriginal Health Association is just going to be a government-run body laundering money. Oh, look, we've got a lot of work to do. So I don't know. Any ideas, please, into this Covenant? I've got to get going. I've got to get home.
You're all right.
Into
I
the
should leave you
Covenant.
to it.
Thanks so much, Betty.
No, all
Any
good.
plaintiffs, please get behind the wonderful Dr. Beverly. Have you got her link there? Give send go link.
Yeah,
We
I've
need
posted
support.
in the comments. I've posted in the comments a couple of times. I'll
No,
bring it up
thank you, mate.
again. Sorry, wrong one. Oh, truth, what's going on here? Cancel. Ah, there we go. All right, so we want the give, send, go. That's
Thank
for
you.
one of them. I can't remember which
Yeah.
one it is, but that's one of the doctors. So basically, give www.givesendgo.com. GB.
Dr. Valerie's got a lot of matters as well. It's just Beverly's in the going to go back into the High Court. It's got to go back into the High Court. This is the one that's going to knock out the vaccination that is urgent. So,
and the second being GCKKU.
I think that's hold on.
Can't remember which was which.
I think that's Dr. Beverly's. But look, Australians, we are pioneering again.
North Queensland Freedom Network at protonmail.com if you can't access it any other way. Nice and easy.
Oh, you're a legend. We are, these Rod and Dr. Beverly have set precedents, I guess, in world history, in Australia's history. This is pioneering stuff. Australians are in the highest court of the land. This cannot happen anywhere else in the world. The High Court read through the matters and accepted them. So it's hard even for the legal fraternity to work their way up into the High Court. So this is massive. Australians, get behind Dr. Beverly. Forget these frivolous bloody cases. This is all about, stopping vaccination in the workplace and potentially will lead on to stopping it everywhere across the board. And Rod, Section 92. We can do this, people. We're the power.
That's it. And we've got to keep focused. We've got to keep fighting. I'm tired. I'm burnt out. I've taken a whole bunch of painkillers in order to be able to sit here for this extended period of time in order to get this job done. So let me ask you, what have you done lately? In the meantime, I do want to talk a little bit about the Stake thing that I've been playing with this app. You got to get onto this, Jackie. It's great. It's share trading here in Australia and all in Wall Street, all through one app. Use the promo code MarkB228 and you'll get $10 free to work here in the Australian account. But also, if you transfer some money from Australia to the Wall Street account, they give you a free stock. I got a bit of free stock. I think it was like $60 one stock in Nike for free. And I get to watch it go up and down. All you have to do is drop the money in. You don't have to buy stock straight away. Just drop the money in, get your free shit, and sit back and watch, learn how it works. And some of the things I've been watching, particularly when I got to see Senator Rennick recently, he was mentioning how franking credits should be gone, and best of luck to you if you've gotten banking shares, for instance. I'm like, well, that piqued my interest. I thought I'll find out a little bit more about this. If you own shares in the big four banks, I think ANZ is the only one that doesn't get 100% franking credits. It gets about, I think it's either 70 or 80. I can't remember which one, but that means you get fuck all taxes for your dividend payouts from investing in these banks. But the banks aren't the only ones. So what I've been doing is going to X and using its AI engine, Grok, and asking it questions like, what are the top payout dividend shares to invest in Australia? And it gives you a list. What's the best price point to buy in at based on current market data? And it gives you an idea. Then you go into the app and you set it up to limit. You set to the limit setting, and then you go, well, I want to buy this share at say $21, and it takes your money, puts it in limbo, and it sits there until that share drops down to that point that you want to buy it at, and it automatically does it. You don't even have to fucking look at it. It's amazing. All this time I'm sitting here thinking I had to watch this shit constantly. But with this fucking app, you can actually set it up to buy when you want. And you can also set it up to sell when you want. So you can effectively set it up to buy at a share at $21. And when it gets to 25, it'll automatically sell it. And then once you've done that, you repeat the cycle. I also realized you can do that at the Perth Mint. You can actually set it up at the Perth Mint to buy, say, platinum, at say $1,500, and then it'll buy it up to how much you want to spend, and then you can set it to sell at $1,700. I'm like, fuck, I wish I'd have learned that years ago, because I've been doing this shit manually for a long fucking time. But you can actually use these apps to do it yourself. So there I am working my way. During the day, and I'm no longer stressing about, can I get home at time? Will I get a quick break during my work day to go and have a look at my shares and see where it's going, so I can get the buy and sell point? No, the app will do it for you once you learn how it works. And even if you're not sure how to work the app, I actually used X's Grok AI engine to teach me how to use the app too. So brilliant shit, ladies and gentlemen. If you're having trouble, fucking just let
It's
me know.
way above my head, mate. Way above my head.
It's really simple once you get your head around it. It's pretty straightforward stuff. I'll have a chat to you, Jackie. It's great. This is good stuff, and it's a great way to start making our money work for us. And at the end of the day, you look at Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad stuff. Fundamentally, how much money do you need in a week to survive? The end goal is to get your money to earn that much money back, so that you no longer have to work. And now we can focus more on saving this fucking country instead of wasting our time in
Getting our money back.
Fucking jobs. Yeah, let's start get our money to work.
Our money, our resources, everything put back.
The rich fuckers are doing this. They are using this shit. So let's use their techniques as well. It's not just about fighting them. It's using these are the systems in place. They're going to fucking sit whether we like them or not. As Jared Rennick said, we should get rid of the franking credit system because it's a burden on the Australian taxpayer. Well,
I don't even know what it is.
It's a tax subsidy for investing in specific companies that the government has endorsed.
Channel
9. Yeah, Channel 9. You can buy shares.
It sounds like a conflict of interest.
Fucking orange it is. It's a scam. But
just more shit fuckery.
We may, like everybody else is using it. Why shouldn't we use it until we dismantle it? I think we should dismantle the system. But while the system's in place, I'm going to make a fucking buck out of it.
It's not a matter of dismantling the system. It's correcting it. It's correcting it and removing the corruption. So if anybody's got any links out there to anybody who can support these cases in the courts, etc., I don't know. Rennick, Babbitt, Clive Palmer. Come on, Clive, cough up some money. It'd be nothing. It'd be a luncheon for you. It'd be the tire off one of your, 300 cars. It's crazy.
Well, I don't know how much money he pumped into this election and got nothing. And as I understand it, it's his last run. So, yeah, I don't know where Clive's going to go from here on in or what he's going to attempt to achieve. Straight, I don't even want to try and think about the kind of decisions he's making. No. I'm sitting just thinking and get out of the rat race. We need to be able to fund this. So I need more time to dedicate to this network. I need to be able to take this 2.5 hour now interview and spend time watching it and slice it up into little pieces so that the small attention span people might start getting some information. But I don't have that time, unfortunately. I need to get economically free.
We're rough and raw, Betty. Rough and raw. Nothing polished here. Phone That's drops. It. Phone going flat. Nothing. Nothing.
Make it up as we go along.
Thank you so much for having me on.
That's all right.
Let's all band together, unite, and we'll get something. Get this country back. We're in the courts. People have got the courts back. Let's go rock and roll.
People power.
Yep, we are the power.
I'll end on this last comment here that was started by Steve has said, we need an A team of smarty people like yourself to get together. Well, that's exactly what we're trying to do here. That's what the North Queensland Freedom Network is about. So if you've got ideas and suggestions, or if you want to come on because you've decided that you want to research something, you found some amazing shit, you want to share that with the people, drop me a line and let's get this show on the road, because that's what the North Queensland Freedom Network and Cafe Lockdown are all about, is getting that information out there, educating the people and finding a way through this shit show. Yes, we're up shit creek. There's no fucking paddle and there's holes in the boat. How are we going to plug the holes and what are we going to use for a paddle? I reckon we should use Elbow's head, but that's just my idea.
Part of our problem is the people that are asleep. So this is the thing, we've got to get it out there to the people. I think the common the common thing everyone is aware of is that something's not right within the government. And no Australian wants to see our land, our water and our resources being owned by foreign corporations. So it's a big way to wake Australians up to what's going on. We should not be in debt. Australians should be living very, very comfortably and afforded, royalties and kickbacks off the trillions that are brought into this country. Instead, it's the opposite. So, yeah, we're being sabotaged.
Raped and pillaged at the highest level.
Raped,
but
pillaged,
thanks very
plundered.
much. Thanks for coming
Get
on,
this country
Jacquie.
back, people.
Great. Fucking
With the
oath.
power.
Fucking oath. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks heaps for joining us. Consider becoming on Patreon or using any of the other links in the description. If you haven't got access to those links, just shoot me an email, nqfreedomnetwork@protonmail.com, and I can help you out with whatever you want. And, as some of the amazing supporters of the network have found, yes, I will go above and beyond for you. If you help me out, I'll definitely help you out. I'll come around and I'll help you out with the computer. I'll teach you how to use the things that I've learned. I'm no financial advisor. I'm no amazing at anything. I'm not a master of anything. I'm just good at enough to get by, and whatever I can help you out with, well, it just helps the movement, doesn't it? Good people helping good people. That's the best we can do at this point. So thank
you,
Jacquie.
Fatty.
My pleasure, and I'll see you next time.
See you next time, mate.